Hello, hello. I see you guys joining. I am just trying to get my life together. Bear with me, everyone. Hopefully I can get this to work. Hello, I see you. I am running on 2 feeds right now, so bear with me. All right, we are here. Thank you for joining. As I mentioned earlier, I've taken over Brie Larson's live. I'm also live on my page, and we are going to get right into it. It feels like there are a lot of things going on right now. The world is in trouble, and particularly in the U.S., we are feeling it. And I want to take this opportunity, as I said, to answer some of the questions that you guys put in the feed earlier. So we're going to jump right into it. One of the first questions is around white privilege and what does it mean to have white privilege? I mean, I can speak generally to it because I'm not white, but white privilege is about having access. It's about being born with power. As a Black person, it is very difficult to navigate the world and be seen as other. As a white person, you're not seen as other. You are, the main race, if you will. There are some people that I see are new to this and asking who I am. Again, I am Justina. I've taken over Brie's account for the day. We're talking about racial issues. We're talking about the state of the U.S. If it interests you, please type your question in the feed. If not, you're welcome to log off. The next question is around what are the best ways to approach the conversation when the conversation often gets shut down? I'll say it like this. Look, it's not an easy conversation to have, but I think as a people, we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? It's never an easy topic. It's not an easy topic for Black people to have, and it's not going to be an easy conversation for anybody else to have. The reality is that we need to have the conversation. We haven't been having enough of it, and this is why we are where we are right now. I think, if you're trying to have the conversation with your family and you're feeling like they're not being receptive, I encourage you to continue to try to have the conversation. I had seen in the comments earlier that somebody indicated that they had tried to have the conversation, but they felt that it was turning violent. That should never be the case. If you feel like you're in a situation where you're having a conversation and you're trying to state your position, but you feel like it's getting adversarial or somebody is going to fight you, then obviously you should stop having that conversation. That is not the way to go. There's a question here about when did I realize my skin color was an issue? That's an interesting question. For me, it happened very young. So I was born and raised in Canada. So yes, I'm Canadian. And I think I was maybe about 5 when it really became apparent to me. In school settings, I went to predominantly white schools, and I was ostracized in some situations. I've had teachers who have had trouble pronouncing my last name. My last name is Omakwa. It's not difficult to pronounce. Teachers should probably ask, how do I pronounce it? But they get into questions like, where were you born? Or when did you get to this country. And in my case, I was born in Canada, but the othering starts at a very young age. And so when I had the conversations at home with my mother, she would tell me, look, this is the reality of where we are. And so my mother had very frank conversations about the fact that I was Black, the fact that I was a woman, and some of the challenges that I would have to face. And I would say throughout my life, I have encountered many instances where it is apparent that my skin color is an issue, or it is apparent that I am one of very few Black people in spaces, or I'm the one and only Black person. Shout out to all the Canadians. I see you. Thank you for putting up your flags. Another question. This person talks about, is there something that non-Black people can do so that Black people feel safe when they enter a space? This is a great question. I think at the core of it, we need to get back to a place of humanity. I recognize there are Black issues because I'm Black. There's not a special thing that you need to do for Black people. You just need to treat people as you would be treated, as you want to be treated. So I often invoke the golden rule, and it's applicable across many religions. If you're religious, whether it's Buddhism or Judaism, the golden rule applies, right? Treat others the way that you want to be treated. It's as simple as that. When we look at what's happening in the world, you look and put yourself in that situation. Is that something that you would want for yourself? And if the answer is no, then let's work to rectify it. Let's identify when something is being done wrong, when people are saying things that are hurtful, when people are being marginalized. Let's identify it. You don't have to be Black to identify that something is being done wrong. Let's see. What do we have here? How do I deal with an aging parent that has become increasingly conservative? This is interesting because for me, I feel like it's completely natural that as people age, they become more conservative, not just with their politics, but with their life. They become risk averse. I'm not going to jump as far as I used to. I might not stay out as late. So I think that we have to have grace with older people. They come from a very different situation. I think it's also important, though, that we try to educate. I mean, in the same way that you have people who are averse to social media or they're averse to technology because it didn't happen in their time. I think that, we can take the same amount of patience. Sorry, Felicia, hit me on Brie's account, not on my account. So at Brie Larson. I think that it's important that we exercise the same amount of patience as it relates to older people to educate them about what's going on, whether it's books, we need to show them videos, but let's also have the conversation. Why do you feel the way that you feel? Why is this different? Why do you think differently about Black people? Let's understand where they come from, but let's educate them about the realities of today's world. And look, in some instances, you're going to have to leave people behind. It's just, it's impossible to take everybody along with you on this journey. But as you can see from where we are today, look, the reckoning is here. Change is happening. And that's just the reality. Like we've got to get real comfortable with where things are and where things are going. And if you want to be part of the old guard and part of archaic thinking, then it's going to be very difficult for you. Let's see what we have here. Hello. I see all the waving hands. Thank you. Let's see. This person talks about being afraid of COVID, and so they can't protest. What else can they do? Look, everybody has their own journey. Just because you're not outside doesn't mean that you are not in support of the movement. There are many ways to show your support, whether it's voting, whether it's calling for defunding the police, whether it is in your workplace and you are being an advocate for the Black people that work with you. If you can't, if you can't, if you can't be outside, then that doesn't mean that you are less than. Give me 1 second, guys. I have somebody that is trying to join me and having a little difficulty. Just keep saying hi in the comments, and I will try to pull you up. I'm gonna have a guest today. Some of the rest of you, I mean, it's wonderful that you want to be live, but I can't tag you in. So while we wait for our guest, I will continue with our questions here. Let's see. How do you suggest, let's see, maybe I can get her. Here we go. Are you there? Nope, she declined. I don't know why you declined. You're going to have to do it again. Okay. Sorry about that. I lost my question. How do you suggest we keep the movement going for real change? Well, I think moments like this, the fact that Brie has so graciously shared the mic and given me her platform to provide opportunities for point of views to be heard from Black people and not just white people, I think is very important to have, to keep the conversation going. We need to talk about this. I can't stress that enough. For far too often, it's been taboo to say the word Black. Black is not a bad word. We should absolutely talk about it. We should absolutely talk about the injustices that many of us are facing. It's not just a Black issue. It's an issue of humanity. And so, not to quote the MTA, but if you see something, say something. But I would expand it to say that if you see something, do something. Don't just, sit on your hands or kind of look away or, well, that affects them. If it affects me, it affects you. And we have to get to a place where we're living that truth, is that if it affects my neighbor, then it affects me. Because the protests and the looting and all of the things that are happening are a result of the things that many people have ignored. And now, it's like, oh, well, what's happening? Or they're in my neighborhood, or somebody stole a pair of shoes. Well, that's a result of many years, decades, centuries of unrest and injustice, and here we are. And so we're going to have to deal, and we're going to have to get better at doing the right thing and saying the right thing and identifying the things that are broken so that we can get out of the place that we are right now. All right, what else do we have here? My friend is Native American and is seeing Black Lives Matter and wondering why it doesn't extend to Native Americans. Well, we're talking about Black lives. So if we're talking about breast cancer, we don't talk about colon cancer. And that's not to disparage anything that's happening with our Native American brethren. For me, if there is a movement for Native Americans, I am happy to support, but it's not to pit everybody against each other. I think far too often people feel a sense of hurt because we're talking about Black people. We shouldn't have to talk about Black people. We shouldn't have to say that Black lives matter. But here we are. The reality is that Black lives are being adversely affected, and that's why we're saying Black lives matter. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of memes that are going around, and one really caught my eye. When we talk about never forget as it relates to 9/11, we don't say all buildings matter, right? When we talk about Boston Strong as it relates to the Boston Marathon, we don't talk about all cities strong. So I want us to exercise common sense as it relates to what's happening in the world. and what's happening to our people. It's not like nobody needs to feel personally offended by it.
Right.
I want to introduce my guest. Her name is Felicia Font. I wanted an opportunity to talk to another Black woman. The fact that I have this platform, and that many of you have platforms, I think, you know, it's important that we share our space with other people. And that's what I'm doing today. We're going to take a couple of minutes just to talk to her about her Black experience. We'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself, and we'll talk some more.
Well, I am really happy to be here. And, you know, like you said, this conversation is hard. My name is Felicia Fant. As you mentioned, I am head of urban music and strategy at Columbia Records. So this conversation is one that I think affects us, you know, in a really real way. We have a lot of artists that are, and I want to start here first. You know, we are not monolithic. You know, we don't have the same background. We didn't all grow up the same way. But there is a large percentage of artists that come from inner cities, and they come from these places that, you know, when they are signed to these labels, they're not as equipped. They're not in front of certain conversations. They may never have had access to insurance or mental health classes, or even understand what financial literacy is. So where I sit as the head of urban music, I'm able to have the hard conversation with Black lives are different within our building. You know, they don't have the same conversations that many artists have or access. So our job is to protect them in very different ways. So within this, you know, conversation of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and I go to her because I still think that, you know, the conversation of Black females is sometimes overlooked. Even in this conversation, they still have not put her, you know, murderer in jail. But I often have to tell people we need to be responsible for our artists. We have to make sure that they are equipped to be their best artists. They need to understand, you know, have we thought about making sure they have the college funds and things necessary to survive if they don't have the next hit? So these are often conversations that may be overlooked, but now where we sit, we're having a real lens on if we're doing all the things we can to truly equipped our artists to have longevity, equipped our artists to be able to survive without the next hit, because oftentimes this is their only chance out of a bad situation, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Felicia. Let's talk about how you navigate white spaces. And for those people that are on my feed, if you want to come over to Brie Larson's, it'll probably make more sense for you. Go ahead.
You know, it's never easy. You know, I present Black. You know, there's never a time when I walk in the room and you don't see my Blackness. And so when I say difficult, it's not because I'm not proud to be Black, but I think there's an understanding or, you know, a stereotype of what it means when I'm about to speak, a stereotype of what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. We're not often allowed to be vulnerable. So I have to navigate in a way that I often have to maybe pander to feelings or deal with microaggressions that shouldn't be, you know, put on me for me to just say something simple. I'm not able to get emotional at work. I'm not able to maybe cry. There's many times where I'm like, I might have to go in the bathroom and regroup because something was so heated. There's so many conversations that affect artists of color, you know, where I sit, that sometimes the sensitivities that are needed around these artists are ignored. So it's navigation, but it's also recognizing that because I am in a place of influence, it's really the weight that I'm okay to take on. You know, my job is to bring other executives of color into the space, and I have to be able to recognize that there's a level of maturity that I have to always place myself into, and always conduct myself in a way that allows me to get my point across. But again, sometimes I just want to be vulnerable. Sometimes I want to cry. Sometimes I want to say, this was just an inappropriate thing to say about this artist, and you didn't think about where he was from or where he was raised when you made that decision. But you know, we all grow from that, but navigating the space is something that, you know, I've been doing for 20 years. You know, I've been in the label system for 20 years. So I've seen the reiteration of executives of color. I've seen urban music become a pillar on how these businesses are even, you know, in business. So with those conversations, they are hard, but it again, it's my job, and I'm sure your job, whether we want it or not, to educate and continue to pass down the correct messaging so that, again, our artists, but also our employees are protected.
Okay. Let's talk about the Black woman. She's been referred to as free. You know, there are myths that she is ever powerful. Let's expand on that.
I mean, we always say that's gone back to something maybe since slavery, that we don't endure pain, that, you know, we don't hurt, that we don't bleed the same way. But if you think about it, I'm not sure if everyone has seen Serena Williams' documentary, you know, when she kind of shows you her journey through birth, but people assume that she could tolerate pain, and that's just not the case. And I think that is maybe figuratively something people think, and literally, that we can take a certain level of pain, that we can take a certain level of you know, abuse, whether it's verbal, whether it's mental, but that's not true. We need to have more love for our bodies and more love for our space, if I'm being quite honest.
Okay.
There is a, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Amy Cooper.
Okay.
How did you feel when you saw the incident that happened in Central Park? There was a Black gentleman. He was a bird watcher. He politely asked a white woman to leash her unleashed dog. And we saw what ensued, where she quickly went from 0 to 100 and she called the police.
You know, it's a couple of words. It's angry, it's numb, but it's also not surprised. And I think that's the part that I hate saying, is not surprised. You know, there is this ability again to claim victim. Something, again, Black women don't claim. We don't claim victim. We don't claim that we are vulnerable. We don't claim those words. So it frightened me, because again, this is a person who's liberal, and I think that might be the real conversation here. Even if you think you're liberal, even if you think that you are not racist, you were still able to fall in that crutch. And I think that's what people have to understand. Even though I am liberal, even though I have Black friends, even though I have minority circles of people that I often engage with, have I ever fallen back on that crutch? Have I ever utilized, you know, that position of power to get what I need and what I want? And that's something that I think we have to think about. So seeing that hurt me, because I'm like, here we are. You are in a space where you were at the wrong. You only were asked a question, something that, you know, if I were asked the same question, I would have, you know, I would have honored his space. You know, you don't know his fear of dogs. If he's allergic, you just don't know. So why not just do the right thing? But even in wanting to do the right thing politely, she was able to get angry and exercise her frustration with someone checking her. And I don't think it's a check. It's just it's an ask. And why can't we ask you? Why can't we not? Why do we have to deal with your microaggressions all the time? And again, it's not about being angry, because I think there is a conversation. We have to also come together. We have to be in unity to really get to the next step, which is why, again, I think sharing the mic is so important, and having this opportunity with you is so important. But I need people to understand that's not something that is afforded to the Black woman. The ability to be vulnerable is not always afforded. You know, I skipped the conversation, which I wanted to talk about, you know, in the Black body, you know, in hospitals. You know, we die 2.5 times more in hospitals when we are giving birth, because people don't believe that we have pain. We have fibroids 5 times more, and that might go for socioeconomic issues or anything like that, but we are constantly at the disposal of this conversation. And so Black women want a hug. We want to be heard. We want to truly walk in alignment, and we need you to see us and understand that there's times where you need to just understand this is not about aggression. It's not about frustration. It's not about singling you out. It's just about you understanding my journey and having respect for my journey to get here.
Excellent. I want to address the haters in the comments. There's a few of you.
There's a few I saw, and that hurts me. That hurts me. The last, you know, the shut up, like that's just not right. It's not right.
It isn't right, but we're not, you know, we're going to address them, and then we're going to move on. Brie she's not going to be here today. She has given me her mic. So for those of you who don't like it, you have options. It's, you know, you can make a choice. You don't have to stay here. We're going to stay here in our Black beauty. No, Brie didn't forget to put on her makeup or whatever the other comments are that are here. It's very easy. The choice is simple. You don't have to stay here. Sorry, I just needed to make that statement. All right. I know that you're a very busy executive, but let's talk about how we move forward.
Yes.
What are the things that we do?
You know, it's the idea of what you're doing now. You know, allies have to be willing to literally share their mic. They have to also be willing to listen, you know, and not just ask the questions. Don't just make the phone call and say you did your homework. Like I called someone and said, hey, how are you doing? And that's enough. Like you have to help us even the playing field. You have to make sure that when you walk in a room, and Melanie Hobson said it best, that it looks like the America we want. You know, if there's only one person of color in a room, that's a problem. And, you know, this goes across the spectrum, you know, whether it's Asian, Latinx, whatever. When you walk into a room and you only see one other person of color, you should feel uncomfortable. You know, you should feel uncomfortable saying that this is an okay place for me to work, that I am proud to work here. If you really want to elevate the conversation, if you really want to make a difference, then make sure you are looking out for your counterparts. Make sure you are asking, you know, your companies, like, where are these employees? Why are they not given the same chances? Why are they still being paid 61% less than white men to this day to do the same thing, if not more? You know, that's part of leveling the playing field. And again, it's not taking something away. It's giving us something we never had. And I want to make sure that's the understanding. We're not taking away. We're asking you to give us something we've never had. Sure.
Great. Okay. Well, if you can stay on, I'm going to talk through a couple more questions. By all means, please stay. I really want to address, people have asked, you know, why now? Why is it a big issue now? Why is there, you know, all of this unrest? And for me, there has always been unrest for Black people. Always. What you see happening outside happens internally for us every single day.
Yeah, systematic oppression is in the building and on the streets. The two are mutual. It's not just outside, it's everywhere.
Right. And so we've reached a point where we're just not going to take it anymore. And that's just the reality. I can't tell you what the trigger was, but here we are. I mean, for me to go back. I think
it was a trifecta. It was a trifecta of Amy Cooper, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It was just like, does everyone see this happening back to back? And it's not that it's new. It's the fact that it was just a trifecta, and the fact that we are sitting here looking at the same social media at the same time. And it's like, okay, if you don't honestly see this, then you're pretending not to see it. And I don't think you're blind. So at some point you have to admit what's right in front of you and figure out, are you going to take a stand or continue to act like it doesn't matter?
Yeah. Somebody in the comments said it's a global pandemic, and it damn sure
is. It is, Sarita, because racism is a disease. Racism is a pandemic. Colorism is a pandemic. All these things are pandemics.
Absolutely. For me in particular, I mean, all of it has been extremely horrible. It is horrifying. It is hard to continue and plaster a smile on your face and act like everything is okay when we are bombarded with images of Black death every day. And people want to act like it's okay. It's not okay. Like, it's not. And we as a people are not okay, irrespective of the fact that you see us show up for work every day, and we operate almost like robots. We are not okay. When the Amy Cooper incident happened, I feel like I was silent for like 24 hours because for me personally, it points to something that I couldn't articulate, but that was happening. It happens at work. It happens on the street. It happens in elevators. It happens everywhere. And so to be able to point to a particular situation and say that is what I'm talking about. And so I call it out, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are so fed up that they are definitely calling it out. And so I've been letting people know, like, Amy Cooper works here, or she works over there. Amy Cooper lives down the block. Let's talk about Amy Cooper, because we're going to stop feeling bad. We need the people who are doing bad things to feel bad, because it's not us.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't feel bad for hurting, period. I understand what you're saying, but yes, it is all around you. It is a conversation that we constantly have. And it is, again, how I have to present myself. And that is exhausting. Having to figure out how to show up at work, how to wear my hair, you know, how to have a conversation is exhausting. I'm lucky to say that I'm in a corporation, but within a label group that has addressed the issues head on and didn't hide from it. So I am proud of the team that I work with that said, let's talk about it, let's address it. But everyone is not that lucky. Everyone is not that liberal. You know what I'm saying? So I feel for the person who has to still have that weight every single day. I feel for the person who's not able to get this out of their system and actually have a place to vent. But I do say, and I say this with a smile on my face, If there's one time to be an angry Black woman, it's now. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to lean into this anger so that we can actually heal. Because I don't think a lot of us have ever had the opportunity to heal because we're not able to address that we're angry. Part of the psychological, mind fuck, if I can say that, is that we're not allowed to tell ourselves that we're in pain. We're not allowed to tell ourselves that this is a problem. So part of mental health for Black women is being able to address the fact that we have had to bury this frustration for so long. We've had to literally take this pain and hide it away and keep it. So when are we allowed to actually say, I am angry, I am frustrated, I need to be loved, I need you to protect my body, I need you to protect my future, I need you to pay me correctly. All these things are part of this ongoing narrative. I will say that there is a film that I talk to you about all the time, Eggs Over Easy, Black female fertility, because we're saving for so long, we have children much later. We get married later. Again, Black women are always last for a lot of things, and we have to change that conversation. We are tired of being last to be loved.
I love that. We are not going to be last. I want to go back because I definitely did this out of order, and some of it was deliberate. Graciously shared the mic with me and gave me her platform. Mm-hmm. Beyond my name, I didn't introduce myself to the group, and I did that on purpose. As part of the campaign, the white woman would hand her account over to the Black woman. The Black woman would introduce herself, and then she would begin engaging in whatever way that she felt appropriate and based on what she had discussed with her partner.
Right.
And for me, I skipped the step of introducing myself in terms of who I am and what I do, because I want to create a space where we accept Black people for who they are without knowing what they do or without
by my title should not let you accept me. You should just accept me because
correct.
I'm a great human.
Correct. Right. Because when I started this, I had on a t-shirt, and now I got a little bit dolled up because I knew that I was going to have company.
You're fine.
But
you look good. You look good.
Thank you. If you see me on the street and I have on a t-shirt or I have on a hoodie, I'm still the same person. And I think that it's important to understand that we are multidimensional. You're not always going to see me in a way that is palatable for you. Get over it. Right. Mm-hmm. I might not have my hair done. Somebody asked if my hair was real. And I'm like, let's talk about the unspoken Black girl rules. Don't ask me if my hair is real. You see, this is on my.
Ask me. Yes. Don't ask me. Right? I feel good.
Like,
feel good. Don't worry about it. Yes.
Correct. Yes. But again,
she belongs to me and whatever.
Correct. These are the things that people feel comfortable asking Black women and Black people about their bodies and about what they do. And we can talk about how our men have been over sexualized. I mean, you see it with allies, people who are protesting on our behalf, talking about sexuality.
Yeah. Yes. That about you like every inch of me. So whatever. And that's not really what I want to hear. And I respect the jokes. I respect the humor because you want to find humor wherever you can in something so painful. However, this is what you said. It goes back to sexuality. It goes back to the fact that how do I dress at work so my hips don't offend you? How do I dress at work so that, my butt doesn't offend you? And it's my butt. And I have to feel bad for my butt. That is crazy, It's crazy.
Well, I'm going to stop feeling bad for my butt because it is quite large.
Yes. And beautiful. Okay.
I think I might have to start wearing tighter clothes. And if it offends you, then maybe you should close your eyes. That's just where I've gotten to.
Right.
It's just the way it's going to have to be. All right, let's see. Let's see some questions so we can wrap it up because I know we can talk about this all day long and people got things to do. Let's see what people have on the docket. I'm white and so is my family. And my dad told me not to get involved with the Black movement because it's not our movement.
I mean, that's just a problem because we all work together. We are all an ecosystem. And I think that's what we have to realize. We are one ecosystem. It doesn't matter where you work, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, whether it's music, whether it's finance, whether it's your local fast food restaurant. There's an ecosystem, so you have to respect that ecosystem for us to really get ahead and to really, move forward. We have to recognize that that's a terrible thought.
Yeah, I think based on something that I said a little bit earlier, again, I think as people age, they become a little bit more conservative. And in some instances, it's a reflection of their politics, and other times it's not. But I think in this instance, it's okay to feel comfortable saying, look, Dad, it actually is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a problem that affects the human race. And
Exactly. Human.
just because I'm Black, that doesn't mean that I can't call out adversity, and I can't call out somebody being hurt,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody bullied, or somebody being murdered. And
Exactly.
that's what's happening to Black people every single day. And I feel like it's your responsibility. Just like if I saw, it's like if I saw something on the ground, even though I didn't necessarily put it there, if it's in my house, if it's where I live,
right,
then I'm gonna pick it up so that my place doesn't become messed up. And it's the same idea here. It's like Black people live where you live, right?
mm-hmm.
They live in this world, they live in this country, city, state, whatever it is, and so do you. And so it is your responsibility.
Yes, this
to
is your
do so.
community. This is your community, local, global, glocal, whatever word you want to use. This is part of it. We share this space. So as long as we have to share the space, we have to acknowledge that we are all in the space together and figure it out. 100%.
All right, let's wrap it up. Felicia, what are some parting words that you want to leave with everyone, and then I'll close it out.
It's just what you just said. It's really hard. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to figure out how to get involved. It's hard to figure out, where you sit in this conversation. And, we're not asking everybody to run and jump in. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just a little bit of toe in the water. But the thing is, I would do the same, and I think that at some point I saw a post from Nicole, who is in this chat. It is about humanity. And if you consider yourself a lover of humans, you know what I'm saying? A lover of our progression.
Internet. Felicia, you're frozen on my screen. I don't know what happened over you. Oh, you've left. Okay. I think we had some technical difficulties with her, but that's okay. I'm going to bring it to a close. This has been amazing. I'm still going to be here for the rest of the day. I've got a lot more to do. My work with Brie isn't done. While this started out as a campaign, Brie and I have established a quick friendship. I'm going to be back. We're going to continue to talk. Hopefully you continue to listen and share the word. I thank you. I thank you for all your questions. I know I didn't get to all of them, but again, we're going to continue the conversations. I've kept all the questions, and so we'll continue to facilitate. Please leave comments, or hit us up in the DMs. Hit me up at Justina O. Thank you, and I will see you soon. Take care.